up, YouTube? It is Coach Kolton here to bring you physique development tools, skills, and opinions that hopefully you can use for yourself to make some gains. In this video, we are going to be discussing the dieting for hypertrophy basics. We're going back again. In this video, we're covering simply hydration and what supplementation you can possibly leverage for performance enhancements. By now, you should really understand how to count your macros for hypertrophy. You should understand where you're getting those macros from and really being able to connect those two things for a really proper diet. So this part, at this point, is not really going to be that much more useful. You might gain 5-10% maybe performance, but realistically, like if your diet is in tune and in check and you're eating the right amount of food and a slight surplus, you're going to have all the ergogenic benefits you already need from your diet. And these things are just sort of cherries on top that cost a lot of money, honestly, and are not really worth it if you're already doing the proper steps with your nutrition. So some supplements here. I want to preface this once again with these supplements are not going to change the outcome of your results, okay? They are going to add a slight amount of performance benefits, possibly. In studies even, these haven't truly been shown to really be that effective. Slight statistical significance has been shown, but nothing that is dramatically like, wow, everyone needs to be taking this. There's one particular supplement on this list that I will say is very much so that everyone should be taking it, but I'll cover that in a second. Whey protein, what is it good for realistically? Well, if you're struggling to get protein in, you're really full, it's always a great way to fill in protein that's really simple. It's tasty, so usually you can get really creative with flavorings and recipes and get all into that stuff. I don't really encourage that. I encourage a bland diet. But you know, if it's something you truly enjoy, it can create a stability for you in your diet. It's useful for like post-workout environments due to its ability to quickly digest for those amino acids to hit your bloodstream and cause hyperaminoacidemia, which we know triggers muscle protein synthesis, as well as it's going to satiate you in a sense where it's tasty. So like maybe instead of going to get a cake, you're going to go get your red velvet protein powder and make it in some cream of rice or something like that, and you'll still get the same satiety from that, but it's going to be way less calories and more protein focused rather than anything. The part that needs to be taken away from this is you cannot replace your diet with protein powder. Okay, food is always going to be daddy. What I mean by that is it's going to have the micronutrients you need, it's going to have the minerals you need, it's going to have the components of a diet that are necessary for your health, right? Not just protein. That's about all whey protein is going to have, whereas true like meats and whole proteins are going to have much more nutrients within them. And so if you're leveraging whey protein for like a good portion of the meals a day, you're really missing out on those micronutrients that are available within those other products. Carb powders like highly branched cyclic dextrin, some Gatorades, coconut powders. There's other ones out there that I'm not really a fan of, but those are great. They're actually really great products if you're advanced. If you're able to push yourself into a gym where you're becoming glycogen depleted, or maybe your pre-workout meal has been spaced out quite far from your workout. Those situations are really useful when it comes to carb powders. These are also really useful at retaining hydration during a workout and also providing fuel substrates for your workouts. So while you're working out, you're depleting glycogen. These substrates are going to allow you to synthesize more glycogen during your workout, providing more energy. We know that carbohydrates are directly ergogenic, so this is going to be beneficial for your workout, absolutely, but you have to be able to push it there. It's not going to be worth it if it's not really providing you anything. And in this category between whey proteins and carb powders, it's worth mentioning that there's like those mass gainers out there. Once again, is that whole food? Is it going to benefit you truly? Yes, it's easier to eat. Yes, it's sometimes maybe tastier than what you'd be eating normally, but what you're going to get the foundational ingredients from is meat and whole food. The phytochemicals, the flavonoids, the carotenoids, the polyphenols, all those goodies are going to be within whole foods and not these powders, right? And you need to consider like these powders and whey proteins as processed food, just as a Rice Krispie bar is, or just as a Reese's peanut butter cup is. They're the same kind of thing, right? One might have more protein, but generally they're just processed down ingredients that give you sort of a substrate of ingredient only, like carbs only, whey only. not the hundreds of other ingredients within, like, let's say a 8-ounce cut of beef, right? That's gonna have way more nutrients in it. So, or like a potato, for example, way more nutrients, a lot of potassium and great vitamin A and E. So things you got to be considerate of. Carb powders and whey powders are great for certain environments, but they're not something you should leverage majority of the time. Creatine, however, is the most daddy supplement of all time. This is the one supplement that I'm going to refer everyone to absolutely 100% of the time, unless you're having some sort of liver issues where your detoxing isn't really working, and that's something to get into in a whole nother video about hormonal health and so on. Creatine is a really great product to leverage because it doesn't just include the ergogenic effects of increasing force production and hypertrophy outcomes, but it also increases nootropic benefits, right? People don't really consider this. Your frontal lobe uses primarily creatine phosphate. What's on front of the phosphate word? Phosphagen system uses creatine to synthesize creatine phosphate. And so you're using this energy system, if you're intaking it, guess what? Your brain's going to be super nootropic, if you will, and you'll use more motor units. You're going to recruit more motor units. You're going to have better motor skill learning. Like, it's a great all-around supplement when it comes to training in all aspects, physically and mentally. It's going to improve total body methylation demands by reducing them by 40%, which is extremely important for inflammation and just demanding energy from your body in general, improving your overall metabolism. And it can actually attenuate depression. A lot of recent studies has been shown that it's actually attenuated depression that's likely due to giving more substrate to the phosphagen system within your brain. All very good things, all super important, all really beneficial for males or females. It won't turn you into a monster. It is not a hormone. It's a natural amino acid that comes from food we eat every day. It's just using a little bit more of it, about 5 grams a day, is going to add tremendous benefit on top of what you're already doing. When I say tremendous, how much do I mean? 10-20%, okay? Maybe 20% is a little even dramatic, right? Maybe 10 to 15%. But that's a large jump from these other things that might add 2%, right? Nitric oxide precursors, a lot of people already know about these. These are the pump products. These are the products that increase blood flow, blood volume. They're basically dietary nitrates or precursors to nitrates, and they're slightly ergogenic, and they do this via increasing mitochondrial respiration, the rate at which your mitochondria can turn over energy. It also increases calcium kinetics, so your muscles require the release of calcium from the sarcolemma to contract, and this is going to enhance that whole process. And then it also, like I just mentioned, vasodilation or blood volumization. It increases your ability to expand and move blood through your body, as well as, most importantly, the biggest benefit I see from it personally is the glucose uptake. It's going to increase the capacity at which you can use and synthesize glucose into glycogen. These things are like beetroot juice, dark chocolate, citrulline, arginine, but that one kind of sucks because it has to build up in your system, and if you're not taking it every day, it's going to diminish and the results are not there. And it gives you an itchy butthole. I don't like it. I will say, however, that these things are expensive, so is it worth it to you? You know, if you have some extra income to spend and you really enjoy the gym and that's part of your entire life, yes, go ahead and spend that money, but is it going to drastically change the outcome of your hypertrophy, as I had mentioned? Probably not, okay? Beta-alanine, sorry, this is the itchy butthole one. Basically what it does is, the reason it makes you itchy is because it's changing the acidity of your body, right? So it's messing with those dynamics, causing some itchiness. But what that's primarily going to do for exercise performance is directly reduce acidity of the muscle, all right? So when we talk about lowering the pH, what happens is when we're working out, we develop a lot of lactic acid and a lot of other metabolites that are very acidic, and they can create a situation where you have high levels of acidosis. This product will lower those levels, enhancing overall glycolysis and the neuromuscular junction communication between neurons, axons, and thus the muscle cell. So very good there, but once again, how effective? Well, you're gonna have to take a lot of it, more than what's in most products that, like, they don't even come close to the dosage needed that you need every single day. And usually those products include caffeine too, and who wants to take like 300 milligrams of caffeine every single day? I hope you don't. That's really not good, leading me into my next conversation. So caffeine, I just put meh, right? Everyone talks about it being the most ergogenic supplements, or it's really a drug used, but it can really, from my practice, what I see, mess with people's stress levels, cortisol levels, puts them in a very parasympathetic dominant state and not a sympathetic state, or sorry, a very sympathetic state, not a very parasympathetic state, where they're just wired all the time. And even myself, I don't drink it, but when I have a coffee, for the next 6 hours, I feel like things are just so stressful, and it's unnecessary to leverage that for performance. Does caffeine improve performance? Yes, absolutely, 100%. This has been shown time and time again. Olympic athletes back in the 80s and 70s even were leveraging large doses of caffeine, so much so that they actually illegalized it temporarily. So yes, it's very beneficial, but I just don't think it's beneficial in the sense of blood sugar, heart rate, and overall long-term longevity and health, right? You can better off use your diet and nutrition to become more ergogenic and lose your desensitization to caffeine. So on the days you maybe need a little boost, you drink a small cup of coffee with maybe 60 milligrams of caffeine, and you're bouncing off of the walls. That's all you really need. And then finally, amino acids. They're really great for inducing hyperaminoacidemia, which is going to, flip the switch from catabolic to anabolic, right? The protein balance is going to shift within your body, especially in times of a exercise, especially when you haven't had a meal in a while since before your exercise, and you're not going to have one for a while after your exercise. These are very beneficial. But also, we know that these things induce hyperaminoacidemia, which is going to increase muscle protein synthesis, compounding the effect of the resistance training you're already doing. All really good things, super impactful on, in my opinion, on your results. So there's a couple ones that are maybe a little dismerged sometimes. DHEA, it's the precursor to testosterone. So you take cholesterol, it converts down to pregnenolone, that converts down to DHEA, that converts down to testosterone, that converts down to estrogen, right? This is the pathway of steroidogenesis. There's a lot more going on there, but that's just the short and sweet. So if you're taking more the precursor of testosterone, it's going to be converted into more testosterone. This is now going to be beneficial for athletes in any capacity, but also females. It's not going to put you on hey, I'm blasting testosterone level of hormones in your body, but it's going to increase your capacity to produce natural levels of testosterone. So it'll give you a little bump, and it will physically do this. This is the one proven testosterone booster, because you're taking in a hormone, pro-hormone, but it is going to impact your performance absolutely, as well as females' performance. It's not going to put them outside of the natural reference range of a female, but do be cautious when using this, especially as a female, because of the hyperandrogenism and suppression of estrogen. You want to keep a proper balance, and it's not something you should take lightly. Definitely research the dosages you should be consuming. Sodium bicarbonate is a really great one for enhancing the disposal of hydrogen atoms, obviously reducing, once again, acidosis. This is the same thing that arginine did, beta-alanine did, and this is only compounding that effect. Very effective, very cheap. That's about all I can say. It's been shown in some studies to cause a extra little bit of performance, not necessarily hypertrophy, however. Obviously, micros and minerals are super important for all the enzymatic reactions, growth hormone production, testosterone production, estrogen production, DHT conversion, you name it. I mean, you need all your minerals and vitamins to properly initiate hypertrophy, right? Hypertrophy requires a very fine-tuned machine in multiple compartments. What I mean by that is, it can't just be my sleep's on point. It has to be my sleep's on point, my diet's on point, my nutrition's on point, my workouts are on point. It has to be all the spectrum. My stress is on point. You can't just go in and expect to grow muscle if your diet is shit and you're only eating chicken and rice and broccoli every day. You need to be eating chicken, red meat, broccoli, peppers, every color of the spectrum, every meat you can get. You need to create variety in your diet and get these nutrients. But if you can't, there's obviously multi-minerals and multivitamins out there for you to consume. However, these are once again not as efficient and certainly not as bioavailable as real whole food. Now, omega-3s, people might be saying, how is this even anabolic? Well, it actually is. EPA and DHEA has been shown to be anabolic, as well as it has this insulin sensitizing effect. So if we're having more insulin sensitivity in our muscle cells, and that glucose is better utilized for them, well, obviously we're going to experience some more ergogenic benefits and grow some more. And then overall, just improving health. You can't really be a hypertrophy athlete, if you're dying. We want to improve overall health, like dyslipidemia, hypercholesterolemia. These things attenuate those and improve cardiac markers and functions over the long term. So that's going to be really beneficial, but truly it does have an anabolic effect. Now, hydration, this is quite easy. Honestly, just go back to the video in Dieting Basics 101, refer to the hypertrophy video, I believe it was episode 5. That's going to cover some of the topics I'm just going to talk about briefly, but that one is more elucidated for the beginners. Just drink enough so your pee is not yellow, but it's not crystal clear, okay? You want it somewhere in between where there's a slight tinge of yellow-ishness in there, as well as you want to drink enough water so that you're feeling like you're quenched, your thirst is quenched, you're not like starving or dehydrated, obviously, like your mouth is dry. Especially if you work out right in the morning, you just urinated all your water's kind of flowed out your body, you've created this natural, it's like nocturesis, I believe it's called. You diurese water during the night, you pee a lot of water. I pee like 6 times during the night, so I know that when I wake up, I've peed probably about 2 liters of water, so I slam about 2 liters of water when I wake up. That seems to do me well, so especially if you're going to the gym, drink a ton of water right in the morning. For advanced lifters, you're going to want to consume what you sweat. This is really key. A lot of people pound water when they're working out, but that's not replacing what you're losing. You're losing some water, yes, but you're also losing all your minerals and carbohydrates from your sweat. So you want to replace that to maintain hydration. Remember, a reduction in just simply 2% total body weight in hydration is a reduction in performance by almost 70%. So increasing your focus on hydration is going to be key. So focusing on getting water in, but also getting sodium in your water. So if you've seen some of my videos, I put sodium, usually pink Himalayan salt, in my intra-workout drink, along with carbohydrates and potassium. You lose some magnesium, not a whole lot to justify putting it in your intra-workout drink, but it's a fun fact to know. Some people argue the use of potassium because your bones release potassium during a workout. So do you really need to use it? I don't know. I'm just going to put it in regardless because it's what I believe in and what I do. So I have seen benefit. I'm my own N equals 1, so that's kind of how I operate. In the next video, before I even touch on it, I want to make this very, very clear. Supplements do not dramatically change the outcomes of hypertrophy. It just doesn't, right? Unless you're using super supplements, which if you want to talk about that, I'm more than happy to make videos about those sort of things like steroids and so on and so forth. But unless you're using those products, they're not going to dramatically change the outcomes of anything, okay? It's truly down to lifestyle and diet here. Don't get overwhelmed with supplements. Secondly, you cannot use supplements as a crutch. So if you're not getting your protein in every day and you're just trying to consume protein powders, like I had mentioned, that's not going to be beneficial. It's not going to get you what you need, and you're going to become micronutrient deficient, and you're going to become malnourished. It's not like you can just use like bang 600 milligrams of caffeine. I see this all the time because you didn't sleep well. You slept like shit the night before. You weren't prioritizing yourself and your diet, so you have no ergogenic benefit from your diet. So you're balancing all this shit on caffeine, and now you're just banging caffeine. You're a caffeine addict, a stimulant junkie, and your cortisol's going up and down like crazy. You're flip-flopping, and you're now this unhealthy, hypertensive motherfucker with tachycardia. Like, just stop, okay? Focus on the key components of your diet and health before advancing into some sort of supplementation, right? This is not needed. These things are optional and they add a slight benefit. In the next video, we'll look about how to alter diet for mass gaining, like how much of a surplus you should be in. You know, are you eating too much or are you eating too little, and how to really tell. So stay tuned for that. Guys, thank you for sticking along so long. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, hit the bell button, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me how awful I am. Once again, this red hair, it's not my choice. It's a curse. But if you like it, tell me. But you can honestly tell me you hate it, because that would give me some sort of validation in life that someone else is watching my videos and I'm not just leaving these things up on the internet for one day my grandchildren to see with 5 views. Deuces.